Welcome, everybody. The NFL Draft is this week, which means it's time to look at some of the best players available. I'm Joe with the Game House, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top edge rushers in the 2023 NFL Draft. The edge rushers are up in our position ranking videos as we go through the offense and then through the defense of the position rankings for the 2023 NFL Draft. We're going to be going through my player profiles I wrote on these players. These are actually all linked to my big board, which is just published today on thegamehouse.com. We have the big board position rankings and everything you might need for the 2023 NFL Draft, so make sure to check that out. But let's get us started with my number 5 edge rusher. We have Keion White, the edge rusher out of Georgia Tech. He played defensive line a little bit in his career, but also played edge rusher. A little bit bigger of an edge rusher too, 6'5", 285 pounds. Good length, 34-inch arms. His size will kind of make him a matchup problem, I think, for some players. They might be able to move him inside on pass rushing downs because of that size. So he's a versatile player. Just as like I mentioned, he can be used as a defensive lineman in some schemes. Someone might want to move him inside. I graded him as an edge rusher because I think he played pretty well there. But this also could turn into him being a tweener. But I do think he could play different roles on the defensive line. He can play in different schemes. But overall, I think he could be a guy who starts at defensive end and then moves inside to defensive tackle on pass rushing situations. For his size, he's a good athlete, able to get off at the snap of the ball, solid flexibility, good twitch. I think that's what helps him win despite having big size. Like he's able to use that twitch to really help him beat opposing offensive linemen. So his pass rush needs to mark at the next level. He's got the ability to win with his power and his bend, but he needs to add more to his pass rush. He needs to have a less predictable pass rush. Adding to his pass rush plan, adding pass rush moves are going to be huge for Keion White and his success at the next level. He's still learning the position in a couple ways. He lacks consistency in production and technique. This is a guy who's a former tight end at Old Dominion, so it's just it's a weird path to the NFL that he's taking. But he needs more time to show the hand usage and technique for a defensive lineman or for an edge rusher, and I think he can do that. So I think he can get too high out of his stance too. I think his pad level gets too high. He loses that power, something else he has to work on. And again, just showing maybe a little bit of his inexperience at the position, at least at the college level. He played a couple good years at Georgia Tech, but he started off as the tight end, and I think he's still learning the position a little bit. But I have a second-round grade on Keion White, first to second-round draft range for him. Again, I think a lot of defenses could really benefit from him. If you need a defensive lineman, maybe you want to go a little bit smaller with White, or maybe just pass rushing defensive lineman. That's cool too. Or if you have an edge rush need, I think he can play there as well. My number 4, Tyree Wilson, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech. I'm a little bit lower on him than consensus, but I do think he's a solid player. I do think he's going to be a first-round pick. Let's get into it. 6'6", 275 pounds. That also puts him above the average for an NFL edge rusher. He's got great length as well. His length, strength, and size, I think, are what sets him apart from other edge rushers in this class. Specifically, some of the ones we'll get to even above him. So his productivity against the run is really good. He sheds blocks well. He kind of has good gap integrity as well. He's able to, show good pursuit too. He's got those long arms to help him tackle ball carriers. I think he's going to be really good against the run from day one. He wins as a pass rusher due to his strength. He can take advantage of an offensive tackle who doesn't have a great anchor. He can bull rush a little bit, and I think that's where he really wins. It's not as much about the moves or the athleticism. It's more about the power he brings as a pass rusher. So he needs to add more pass rushing moves, as kind of just alluded to. A better pass rushing plan, too. There's a lot of pass rushers in this class that do need to add this. This is not unique to Tyree Wilson. He will need to have a better plan, add more moves to it, add more counters. I think that would really help him when his initial rush is stopped. He can kind of push the pocket with his power, but I would like to see a little bit more out of him. His speed and flexibility leave a little bit to be desired. He's the bigger edge rusher. He's the power rusher. He doesn't have that flexibility that we always see out of edge rushers. That's something that people might be able to I guess, be worried about. But you could also move him inside on pass rushing downs just to where his flexibility won't be as big of a need either. So that's something that teams will have to figure out in the next level. So he doesn't show good burst at the snap of the football as well. He kind of sometimes he'll jump the snap well, sometimes he won't. He needs to time the snap better to help get a better start to the play because he doesn't have that great twitch and burst we see with other pass rushers. So that's something he needs to work on to maybe get a step above. Edge number 4 for me. Top 15 pick is the projected draft range. Everyone's saying he's top 10 pick. I have a first-round grade on him. I'm still a bit lower. I don't think the NFL really values those power rushers as much. My number 3, Nolan Smith out of Georgia. His athleticism is great. It's all over. I mean, he's all over the place as a pass rusher. He's got quickness, speed, flexibility. He can get wherever he needs to. Kind of had a really good NFL Combine as well. So he showed it on the field on his tape. He showed it at the NFL Combine. He's got that athleticism work for him. So he also stops the run. He's like an undersized edge rusher, but he also stops the run. That's something we'll talk about with the guy maybe a little bit higher up here too. Sets the edge well. He's able to show good pursuit. He sheds blocks well. Sheds blocks well. He really can see what's happening. He can go after the football. Love what I see from him as a run defender. He also has one of the best motors in the class. He constantly works to get after the quarterback. He pursues ball carriers downfield. I love the motor. I think that's really going to be an asset to him. So the weakness part of his profile here, coming off a torn pec, just going to make sure he's fully healthy. I think he'll be fine. He showed out at the combine again, so I think he'll be overall be okay. He also doesn't have the best measurables for an edge rusher. Shorter arms than most people, but that athleticism just shows up. So I think that's something that the NFL teams will value when it's all said and done. So he's usually wins in pass rush situations because of his athleticism. He's another one who needs to add more to his pass rush plan. Again, a big theme here. If you could add more pass rush moves to be able to kind of set offensive linemen up, I think he could really benefit from that as well. Projected draft range, first or second round pick. I forgot to put a draft grade on here, but he does have a first round pick for me as well. Obviously, if he's ahead of Tyree Wilson, very good athlete. I think an NFL team who takes him will like what they get out of him. Number 2, Myles Murphy, the edge rusher out of Clemson. He and Keon Watt actually got to see in person when Clemson played Georgia Tech this year. Kind of fun little tidbit here as we get to the NFL draft. Also a bigger edge rusher, 6'5", 275 pounds. He's got the length. He's got the strength. I think Myles Murphy fits the prototypical size of an edge rusher, maybe even a little bit bigger than a prototypical size for an edge rusher. Good athleticism for his size. This is where his draft value is. Like, the production may not always be there, but he's big and he has that athleticism. He can move well in a straight line. He can move well laterally. He has good speed, good quickness, solid burst, flexibility. I think that's what really sets him apart here. Motor's always running too. Good motor. He's working to make the play. Clemson had a really good defensive line, so he didn't have to play every snap, but they really rotated some guys in. We'll get to more defensive linemen as we go through the NFL draft process here. But he played when he was on the field. He played hard. I think he can provide that motor at the NFL level as well. The weaknesses, again, needs to add pass rushing moves to his game. He wins because of his athleticism, strength, and length. Needs to add more to his game so he doesn't become predictable or struggle against better competition at the NFL level. He can finish plays better. His motor's great, but it's not really an effort thing. He just needs to show the closing burst with tackles. He didn't finish sacks. I think quarterbacks were able to escape him more easily than they should, especially with his size and athleticism. So just finish it, get the sack, end the play. That's what we want to see more of. And then his awareness could also be improved. He can misread RPOs, misdirections, read options, play actions. So he just needs to stay more disciplined, but you have to like what you see from that athleticism and size standpoint. Projected draft range, first-round pick. Draft grade, first-round pick. Again, I think he's a guy who maybe has fallen down some draft boards throughout the process, but overall, I really do like his skill set and his size, and I think NFL teams will as well. And the number 1 edge rusher, Will Anderson, he's actually my number 1 player in the entire class. It's him and then Jalen Carter, spoiler alert there, and then Bijan Robinson. So let's get into it. Premier athlete as an edge rusher, good burst snap of the ball, flexibility, speed, moves laterally well. He does everything he might need to as an edge rusher very well. His run defense is elite as well. Much like Nolan Smith, he's not the biggest edge rusher, but he knows how to stop the run. Good gap integrity, sets the edge well, sheds blocks well, is able to pursue the ball well. I like what Will Anderson can do for a defense. He also has great sack production in his career. He can win with his athleticism, quickness, and his bend. He uses his hands well to free himself. He does a push-pull, rip, swim, and a lot more pass rush moves. I think he's the most advanced pass rusher in this class as well. And I think he's just able to disengage from blocks and get after the quarterback. That's what we're trying to do with edge rushers here, and I think he does that very well. Weaknesses, again, not the biggest edge rusher, 6'4", 243 pounds. I think he may be measured in a little bit differently at the combine, but that's what Alabama listed him at last season. He needs to add some play strength for the next level, but he doesn't want to lose that speed and athleticism as well. I think that's something that goes without saying, but I do think Will Anderson will be just fine at the NFL level despite the small size. Plenty of times where he was undisciplined this past year. Penalties just galore. Offsides, trying to jump the snap. A lot of times in that Texas game this year, that was just way too much. Personal foul penalties. He He just needs to play more disciplined football because that stuff will just set his team back. And then his pad level gets too high as well. When he gets out of his stance, his pad level comes up too high. He loses that power, and that's kind of like a diminishing thing for him because he's a little bit lighter than most edge rushers, so you just don't want to lose any of that power as you move forward. All right, projected draft range, top 5 pick. I think he could go number 1 if it were for a quarterback-heavy class with teams needing quarterbacks. I do think number 3 to the Cardinals is a good fit, although they're probably trying to trade down as well. He should be the first on-quarterback taken, him or Jalen Carter, I would say. I know that may not happen, but that's what should happen. He's been one of the best players in college football, if not the best player in college football over the last few seasons. Draft grade, first-round pick, projected draft range, top 5 pick. Nothing more to say about that. Top player on my big board. I think he's going to have a very good career. So going back through, we have Keion White at number 5, Tyree Wilson number 4, Nolan Smith number 3, Myles Murphy number 2, and Will Anderson number 1 for my top 5 edge rushers in the 2023 NFL Draft. Make sure to let me know what you think of it in the comments. Make sure to let me know who your favorite edge rusher is in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll have more position rankings coming before the NFL Draft this week. For now, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.